The $63 million intended for injured veterans is the reason Harry is stuck. Two dates, March 14, 2024, and 49 days apart on May 3, 2024. Meghan was using Instagram on March 14, 2024. She introduced her lifestyle brand to millions of followers with flowers, gentle sea, and honey jars. The state of California labeled their joint charity delinquent on May 3rd and gave it 49 days to cease accepting gifts and spending money from the same household. Both had Harry's name on them. Both documents bore his signature, but the $63 million intended to assist injured veterans never reached them. You can find out exactly why 3 letters remained unanswered. The brand was not created by Harry. The charity was not run by Harry. Harry simply signed. He put his signature on the paperwork. The tax was signed by him. Because that's what Harry does. He signed the documents. He plays some songs. He puts his name on things and has faith in others around him. His name was linked for years to a charity that was losing money and twice failing to comply with state regulations. Within that same household, on the opposite side, the company never skipped a planned launch. Not one. There were precisely 2 people on the Markle Foundation's board. That's the entire governance structure of a publicly funded C group, Meghan. Charity Watch, a charity watchdog, documented this. With just 2 board members, the foundation structure is much below generally acknowledged best standards for governance. There was, to put it simply, no independent voice at that table. No one could examine the founders and determine whether a single board member. The only person who could formally complain was the other board member who resides in the same home and is married to the decision-maker who wanted to shift focus toward a commercial brand launch. Governance is not that. That is a household that is exempt from taxes. Check out what transpired with the money now. The charity raised $13 million in 2021. $13 million they were trusted. People donated. Then came 2022. $2 million. The year prior to $13 million. The year following $2 million. That is not a slow deterioration. It's a collapse. Additionally, some who donated in 2021 decided not to donate again after seeing what was done with their funds in 2022. The charity raised $5 million in 2023. Just $1.3 million went toward real philanthropic initiatives. The remaining $3.7 million vanished into operating expenses, consultants, and personnel costs. A well-known media commentator provided his professional evaluation of the recording of the song. He described it as the couple's self-serving publicity strategy and a way to promote other profitable endeavors. The phrase "see" is important. You'll know exactly what was being platformed and at what expense by the time we finish the story, so hold on to it. Imagine the left-hand split screen. March 14, 2024. Meghan on Instagram. Soft light from Flowers Honey Jars, a lifestyle company. She detailed in her own words as a manifestation of herself. A joint charity with a 2-person board on the right has a $3 million yearly deficit and is 7 weeks away from being deemed delinquent by the state of California. Same months, same household. One initiative with coordinated launches that sold out in an hour was operating like a legitimate commercial enterprise. The other was sprinting as if had been discreetly put aside. Harry was signing paperwork for both of those screens somewhere in between. His name appears on both the brand and the shortfall. The California registration of the nonprofit then. The second lapse occurred on May 15, 2025. 2 years, the same registration, 2 compliance breaches, and during which the brand never missed a date. The pattern ceases to be coincidental. It begins to show where the real focus was. However, the split screen isn't the most detrimental aspect of this. When someone eventually attempted to confirm that the funds were on their official federal tax form, a legal document that carries severe penalties if it includes fraudulent information, a box was checked. According to that box, a C accountant had conducted an independent audit of the foundation's finances. This is not a broad declaration of intent. It is a particular legal certification. It states that this organization has an independent audit, and we can make it if you ask for it. It was requested by Charity Watch. That's what they do. The most crucial document a charity may offer is the unbiased evidence that the funds were allocated as stated by the organization. On January 22nd, 2024, they sent out their initial letter asking for the audit. December 6th, 2024 is the second letter. No answer. Third letter, 2026, January 6th. No answer. 2 years, 3 letters, and total quiet from a company that had attested to the audit's existence on a legal document. Now, consider the true meaning of that quiet. There is absolutely no reason not to if the audit is spotless and every single dollar in is precisely where they claimed it was. The cost of producing a clean audit is nothing. It restores a great deal of credibility. Every question is silenced by it. One of two things can be inferred from the fact that 3 different requests over the course of 2 years were met with complete silence. Either the audit is clean and they decided to ignore it for no apparent reason, or it doesn't exist in the format for which it was certified. In the end, Charity Watch determined that Markle does not adhere to transparency standards and was unable to rate the company. A charity is not operating a transparency gap if it refuses to show its books to the organization whose sole objective is to review such books. A transparency approach is being implemented. 2 years, 3 letters, no. Answer. What does quiet represent, in your opinion? Just one phrase. I will read each and every one of them. Now, the veterans, as this is the point at which the records cease to be humiliating and begin to reveal those who ought to have received better treatment. The $63 million was intended to help injured veterans, men and women who lost limbs while serving their nations, who registered for the Invictus Games because a bereaved son told them he thought he had created something genuine, and that their sacrifice was significant. The government contracts for the 2025 Invictus Games were actually obtained by Canadian investigator Rachel Maxwell, not just speculations. She discovered that contracts were a $63 million business for 543 rivals. Do the math. That amounts to $118,000 for each season competitor. The idea and goal of the U.S. Warrior Games are the same. The entire operation of wounded veterans competing is funded by $2 million annually. $63 million versus $2 million. Take a moment to sit with that number. $2 million, $63 million. The objective, the veterans, the sacrifice, and the quantity are all the same. Additionally, the licensing price paid from Harry's group receives direct funding from Canadian taxpayers. The precise sum that was transferred from public funds to the Invictus Foundation was obscured under a publicly funded government contract. You cannot shut off the public's funds and then expect them to continue entrusting you with more. In 2014, Harry constructed Invictus. He claimed that the contending injured warriors were fortunate to have managed to get through. It wasn't a politician. That was Diana's son, a man who had witnessed his mother's death and had dedicated every year to creating something that would honor her memory. And this has me furious. The $63 million moved somewhere else because injured troops believed a promise, not because of the titles, the castle, or anything else. I would like one comment from you. What term comes to mind when you consider the promises made to those veterans? And put it down below. James Holt was his name on May 19, 2018, the wedding day. He was at Windsor Castle. James Holt was quietly handling logistics while everyone else watched. Cameras. James Holt made his own choice when Harry and Meghan decided to quit the royal life in January 2020. He was not required to accompany them. He decided to listen to, because he had faith in what they were creating. He crossed an ocean. He guided me through the Oprah interview. He contributed to the charity's development and management during the ensuing years. Years 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 7 years through the Netflix documentary and its fallout, the memoir and its fallout, and the staff departures, and the regulatory files, the financial inquiries, and everything else. The staff reductions were announced in December 2025. The shortfall was known to the public. The foundation was being discreetly reorganized into a smaller, less noticeable structure. After packing his belongings, James Holt left for home. To raise his family, he returned to England. No interview. No press release. Not on the record account of all he had seen over the course of 7 years. He just walked away. Moreover, sometimes leaving gently is the loudest thing a person can do. The man who had been there since the wedding day ended in silence after 7 years of loyalty, just as the organization he had assisted in creating was shrinking rather than growing. He wasn't by himself. In the same round of layoffs, the director of programs and operations, who was really in charge of the charity's operations, lost his $146,000 yearly salary. More than half of the remaining employees were let go in the same release that said the company was growing. According to some estimates, since the start of the Sussex operation, over 20 people have cycled away. Then there is Dr. Sophie Chandaka, the real head of the board of Suntal, the organization Harry founded in 2006 in honor of his mother. She is neither a tabloid source nor an anonymous briefing. Harry's group approached her and requested that the organization protect Meghan from negative publicity. Her answer was recorded. "We are not establishing a precedent that would make us an extension of the PR apparatus in Sussex." Go back and read that. Harry's own charity was led by the woman. He referred to the one he constructed for Diana as his wife's PR machine. Read it again. The woman who chaired the charity that was established for Diana referred to it as a PR machine. And I want you to consider that. The human version, not the legal one. A son who lost his mother when he was 12 years old, who spent his entire adult life attempting to create something worthy of her, saw how the people closest to him defined in those words. And now recall that earlier phrase. A platform for additional profitable endeavors. The chairperson noticed that. That is James Holt's observations. 20 employees noticed that before stealthily leaving. That is the appearance of being trapped. Not imprisoned by a palace. Not confined by the press. He was caught between what he thought he was creating and what the records claim turned into. This is not an opinion. It's the whole picture. Numbers, documents, dates, and the brand releases on March 14, 2024. The charity is deemed delinquent on May 3, 2024. A $3 million shortfall in 2024. California registration expires a second time in 2025. The brand never missed a launch window in May 2025. At the height of scrutiny, in December 2025, the charity changed its structure to demand less public disclosure: $63 million for veterans, redacted licensing fees in public contracts, 3 unopened letters, and a missing audit verified to exist on a legal document. Every regulatory setback, noncompliance, and public explanation of the money's whereabouts were all accepted by the charity. And the brand continued to grow. Within an hour, new things were sold out. On Instagram, it's kind and inspiring. The organization underwent a reorganization in December 2025 that results in less public disclosure than the previous structure. They made the books more difficult at the height of criticism. A regulator is not comfortable with such a move. That is the type that causes a regulator to bend over and take a closer look. The delinquency notice has Harry's name on it. Harry's name appears on the tax form along with the audit that 3 letters were unable to generate and the box that was checked. Invictus has Harry's name on it. Harry's name appears on a redacted license worth $63 million. Every document that ended up on a regulator's desk had the other person's name on it while one person constructed an exit. Paperwork doesn't weep over Oprah. Interviews are not provided by paperwork. There is no publicist for paperwork, however. Documentation consistently reveals the truth. Before this concludes, I have a question. From the day of the wedding, James Holt was present. He witnessed everything for 7 years. When everything fell apart in December 2025, he quietly packed his belongings and left for home. What do you think James Holt knows that has not yet been made public? Please share your hypothesis below. Because no one can force him to generate his silence, which is the most significant document in this entire story. There is one more chapter in this tale. The one in which the 3 letters ultimately receive the unexpected response. To ensure you don't miss it, subscribe now.